So you might be like, oh, God, you're not going to talk about immigration again, are you? And it's like, well, I kind of have to, because it's going on all the time. It's literally floodgates that are open. And there is a human tide entering our civilizations, and no one cares. And those few people that do care can do nothing about it. And some of these people are in governments. They can do nothing about it, apparently.
They don't have any power.
Yeah, exactly. What power does the government have over a country? God. And the reason this bothers me is because we are going to end up in Mega City 1, which we did a hangout about. And if you want to watch it, you should, because we go into why the Conservatives in this country, and I haven't looked, but I can imagine it's very similar in America, who is in favour of building loads of houses? Oh, the people who get paid to build houses are actually in favour of building loads of houses. And that's why 20% of the money that the Conservative Party in Britain makes is from the housing industry. Weird, isn't it?
I am shooked.
And then the Conservatives are like, 1 million immigrants a year. And then the Progressives say, well, we need more houses. And the Conservative Party gets richer and richer. Anyway, you may remember the Martha's Vineyard migrant crisis, which now has a Wikipedia page. Migrant crisis. Crisis. 50.
Oh, God. I love it. It doesn't even have kerfuffle or something to try and downplay it.
There's a million migrants a month crossing the southern border in the United States. So places like, Texas and, various other, New Mexico, whatever, all these border states are really suffering because of millions of them. 1 million a month, 1 million a month. And that's only what they can know.
You also have to remember our poor, innocent migrants who totally are fleeing war are also suffering because you add millions and millions of people to such a small area, it becomes obviously incredibly unsanitary and crime-ridden and chaotic.
Yeah, which is why they need to go to Martha's Vineyard, in fact. And Ron DeSantis had a stroke of genius and showed us that... go back a second, we can talk about this second, because this is like Martha's Vineyard nationalism that became the hot meme out of this, because it was within basically the same day that they got deported. It's shocking border controls.
Deported, dead or alive.
Yeah,
from Martha's Vineyard.
They got sent to a military base, actually. Jesus Christ, all right. And of course the Democrats were like, you can't do this. This is a political stunt. It's like, oh, really? Please. You're playing politics with people's lives. Also, let in millions of immigrants to flood the South. Look at that. Texas is becoming a blue state.
So, okay, we play politics with 50 people's lives. He's played politics with
Millions.
2 million.
Yeah. 1 million this
year?
month. No, it's a million a month that is coming across.
Fantastic.
It's staggering. It's just unbelievable, right? And so people are like, oh, how dare that evil, despicable Joe Biden send migrants around the country? No, it was Ron DeSantis they were talking about. But it turns out that Joe Biden had been doing exactly the same thing. Biden had been deporting people just to Orange County, New York.
In the dead of night.
In the dead of night.
So nobody would know.
In exactly the same way that DeSantis has done. Except he's sending them to what Trump may have called S-holes, frankly, like New York. Which is definitely an asshole.
Yep.
These were 2 flights that went from El Paso that has been overwhelmed with average of 900 immigrants a day. This is one city. 900 immigrants a day. These particular flights carried 50 teenagers, and the flights were going to the area because they don't want to have eyes on it, a local, whatever that means. The county blocked my people from coming in and out of my business because they're waiting for these buses, so it's definitely happening. People on the ground saying it.
Yeah,
and so
they don't want you to know about it either.
No, they don't. Exactly, that's why they're doing it at night. So what's it like for the migrants when they arrive in New York City? Because if you're from, say, Venezuela, 1, there's no war going on there. 2, your economy's in better shape than America probably at this point. And 3, the temperature. You're basically on the equator. New York gets cold in the winter, and it's October now.
Yeah, but if you're genuinely fleeing hell, then that's not a problem.
Actually, it turns out it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because you went to El Paso in Texas, right? So the weather's nice. Now, if you go to the next one, you get to New York City, and you are just abandoned there by the Democrats. This, I would say, is a crisis for these people because, of course, they're knocking on doors asking for food, clothes, and work after they were just shoved in some hotels there. They weren't ready for the cold temperatures of the Big Apple, and so they don't have sufficient clothing to actually survive the winter.
But you have a hotel room.
Sure, but you know, still not warm.
I assume it's heated. It's what we do with our migrants.
We'll have to check. But anyway, locals say they were never informed that so many migrants would be brought to their middle-class neighbourhood at once, and the area is overwhelmed with sudden flood of needy families. Mayor Adams has declared a state of emergency. This is 50. Another state of emergency over 50 migrants. He's warned that the influx was pushing the city's shelter system to its breaking point and setting taxpayers back by $1 billion a year. So, okay, do we have any sympathy for Texas? Do we have any sympathy for the Republican states on the border at this point? And you think, okay, well, there's a lot of South Americans, right? It's just, that makes sense. Obviously, people on Soros's migrant caravans moving up to South America. Weirdly, there's a surprisingly high number of Indians.
Yeah.
You don't think that's weird?
No, this is entirely normal. You go to any migrant camp, you will find lots of people who are not from countries that are at war, or even in bad economic shape, or even, frankly, bad to be in. And instead, they just decide, yeah, I'm sick of this, I'm leaving. And then go all the way to Europe or America.
But they're not going all the way to America, they're going all the way to Mexico.
Yeah.
To sneak across the Mexican-American border.
When Lawrence Southern was in Morocco, meeting the people smugglers there and the migrants, she ran into a Chinaman.
Okay.
He had fled from mainland China, he says, all the way to Morocco. I don't know how.
How was it going?
He was trying to break into Spain, so...
Right, okay.
Like, some people are just... I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know why you wouldn't go to the next safe country and be fine.
But, I mean, America lets in like 1.5 million legal migrants anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like... And we let in 1 million. It's not like there's border controls.
You got to do the paperwork and they pay some, like $100 for a visa.
I guess so.
It's really taxing. Whereas... traveling halfway across the fucking earth.
And then sneaking across a desert.
Yeah, and paying thousands of dollars in people smuggling fees is way easier.
Much better. But so last year, in fact, in the 2022 fiscal year, 17,000 nearly Indian citizens were taken to US custody at the Mexican border. It's like, how lost are you? Like, what are you doing here?
I was trying to get to Bangladesh. Exactly. You went the wrong way.
Experts point to a number of reasons for the increase, including a climate of discrimination in India, an end to pandemic-era restrictions. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was the pandemic that was preventing them from going. And a perception that the current US administration is welcoming asylum seekers and ramping up of previously established smuggling networks. So I think it's the last two that are actually the real issue here. So I can get into America because the Americans, the Biden administration, is happy to have me over, even though it was Kamala Harris who said, don't come. And the ramping up of the smuggling networks. So the smugglers are making stupid amounts of money.
They've also hidden something too there. The COVID-era restrictions you're referring to, they are the Trump administration decided, well, this is a perfect opportunity, and actually did something good, which is they said, don't want to catch COVID, so back you go. They literally would refuse loads and loads of immigrants on the basis of...
Got COVID, get out.
Could have COVID, was the argument. So it was just enforce the border, but we can't say it because, well, this is America, because that's racism. So instead we will say, because of COVID, we swear. And that was approved. No one would question that.
I guess so.
And when the Biden admin got in, I mean, this hadn't been useful at any point.
No.
As in for COVID. It was just...
Obviously. It's nothing to do with COVID.
And when they got in, they got rid of it because they wanted more migrants in. And, well, they got it.
Thank God for the current thing. So they say in this BBC article, traditionally, Indian migrants who arrive at the US-Mexican border use... I love this as a tradition. Indian migrants to arrive at the US-Mexico border.
Do you mean Indians or Indians?
Actual Indians, not Indians.
Hordes of Indians turning up.
But they use door-to-door smuggling services with journeys arranged from India to South America, which must cost a fortune.
Yeah.
Right. They are often guided the entire way and travel in small groups with their fellow countrymen who speak the same language rather than individually or with family members. These networks often begin in India with travel agents, quote-unquote, which outsource parts of the journey to partner criminal groups in Latin America. I mean, to be honest with you, there's a part of me that's starting to admire the thrift and the industry. Like, it's like, look, I'll just get in contact with the guy from India, we'll get in contact with the guy in Venezuela, and then we'll get some Mexican smugglers to get them across the border. That's a logistical nightmare.
I also don't really understand how the people smugglers are able to convince the customers to be so stupid.
Oh, trust us, we'll get you in there.
No, it's more about the amount of money it costs
Yeah.
to go from India to South America all the way up to the US border, whereas you could have just gotten a flight to the UK legally. I
Yeah.
mean, we let quite a lot of you in. It's
Claim
pretty
asylum
normal.
at the airport and you've got a hotel.
Yeah.
Not that I should say that. Jesus, don't do that. That doesn't work. Instant deportation to Rwanda.
Yeah, it's not happening. But that's my point, which is that when you go and meet migrants who are doing this, you just sort of think, I know how much money you're spending. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. And like, it just seems so risky as well, right? It's like, how do you know he's going to get you to the Mexican border, the US-Mexico border? It's just faith.
But also, if you think, like, if we tomorrow, Carl, just decided, okay, we're going to take a flight to Romania and then walk up into Ukraine and weird example, but to claim asylum, right?
Yeah.
Like, by the end of it, you're going to look like crap. Like,
Yes.
your clothes are going to be a complete mess. You'll probably have no money. You've spent it all along the way.
Yeah.
Like, your life is going to be obviously worse than when you started, even if you're living in India.
Yes.
I don't understand the
I mean,
mindset.
I would just be so suspicious about it. I'd be like, look, I'm just going to be like found in 10 years' time as just an Indian body in the desert.
But if you're wanted for a crime,
Fair point. So anyway, this is the result of a ripple effect, apparently, that takes place when those who have used these services successfully recommend them to friends or family back in India. So it's word of mouth. Hey, no, they got me here. I wasn't just dumped in the desert. And the thing is as well, like this is the illegal immigration, but then we can just move on to the legal immigration. Because apparently there's a problem in India, and we have this problem with India as well, that there are long visa waits. And as you can see from Joe from the Wall Street Journal here, Joe's actually one of the founding members of Palantir, actually. For some reason writing in the Wall Street Journal saying, look, we're losing out on talent. We need them migrants. We need to hoover up the world's migrants. Bring them in.
in the first wave, you get the middle class, and this is where this narrative comes from, where we try and justify, like, oh, look, this guy's a doctor or an engineer or blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then the subsequent 11 waves, funnily enough, not everyone in Syria was a doctor, engineer, or lawyer.
Shocked.
A lot of them weren't. Maybe about 50%. Weren't in the top 1%, maybe. I don't know.
Now, you might think, well, hang on a second. Doesn't Syria need those doctors? And it turns out no. Because something like 90% of Syria's population are actually doctors. And
Just don't worry about it.
and they don't have that much demand. I don't know why there's so much supply. Anyway, so the view from the Wall Street Journal and the opinion section is, of course, we're missing out on talent. We need to make it really easy for people to move to the United States legally. I mean, we'll be undercutting the people smugglers. This is going to help us get to that billion man United States that Matty Iglesias wanted. Need a billion people, man.
If you want to stop the crime, stop the customers.
Yeah.
Like, the criminals will keep doing their jobs of people smuggling.
No. If you want to stop the crime, make it legal.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Boom, done.
Just stop the coming in and it would be fixed.
There's only 1.6 billion Indians or something. Calm down.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 6 billion people outside our country. We can
Yeah,
let
exactly.
in half of them, surely.
Anyway, moving over to Britain, the floodgates are of course open here. Turns out that, and I just find these numbers so depressing. Right, migrants from Nigeria may face a clampdown under Suella Braverman's plans to cut net migration, as it emerged that citizens from the West African country are bringing the highest number of relatives to the United Kingdom. They're 40% of all dependents who accompany the foreign students. So foreign students are allowed to bring dependents. Right. Strikes me as weird.
It strikes me as insane.
Yeah, doesn't it? You know, you're here to study for 3 years or something, or 4 years. Why are you bringing anyone?
I mean, I suppose if you're an
Gotta bring my
adult
nan.
student, you might bring your kids.
Maybe I've got to bring my nan, though.
Why would you bring your... No, yeah.
What about my aunties and my uncles?
Well, my cousin has to...
That's a terrible Nigerian accent.
No, I was thinking more Nico Bellic.
Oh, right.
Oh,
This is despite Nigerian students making up just 7% of all foreign students. They're 40% of all
despite being
dependents.
7%. No.
Yeah. 34,000 Nigerians were given study visas in the UK, bringing with them a total of 31,000 dependents. That's almost 1-to-1. This is mad.
Everyone brings their mum.
A similar ratio was with work visas, and this is compared to the 114,000 Chinese students who brought 400 dependents, as you might expect.
Mostly trying to get away from mum and dad.
Probably, but they're not bringing the dependents. That's the important thing. And the 90,000 Indian students brought 24,000 dependents. It's like, these are huge numbers. These are huge numbers. Like, that's for 1 year. These are insane. I mean, that's like just those. That's more than 250,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's not including the dependents.
But trust me, they'll only be here for 3 years and then leave.
Yeah. But it's okay, actually, though. Because, I mean, we're sat here being like, this is bad. I'm kind of sick of just the sheer number of people coming to my country.
Yeah.
But, luckily, the British public backs higher immigration, says one local immigrant. Nadim Zahawi.
Oh, right. I was going to say, what poll has he used? Probably YouGov.
Exactly. 71% of the public.
He did own YouGov.
Yeah, he founded it, yeah.
Yeah.
The public backs higher immigration to deliver growth, he insists. Compared to what...
With my poll.
Yeah, no, all polling that has been done on the concept of immigration has shown that the British public want less of it, and they have done since the days of Enoch Powell. This is just not something that's changed.
Oh, ever since the founding of YouGov?
But he's like, look, we need looser rules to allow in more engineers.
We have...
90% of India's engineers.
I'm going to smash something.
I know.
I am so sick of this joke of a meme becoming real. We're like, oh, we need doctors and engineers. And it's like, we need more engineers.
We've never built anything in Britain, Callum.
99% of the people we bring in are not the top 1% of the world, funnily enough. That's how the numbers will work, and as anyone would expect. And instead they're like, yeah, no, we need more of that 1% from around the world, even though we're already bringing in, our net is so wide, we're getting 99% of stuff we don't want.
Yes.
But trust it, just make the net wider.
But as this immigrant points out, the public are in favour of immigration, which makes me think that, I'm not in the public anymore. I'm no longer a member of the public.
No, you're not a wonderful Kurdish man like this.
No, so who's the public that he's referring to?
Well, the people of Kurdistan, why else?
Well, or just immigrants, right?
Kurdistan,
Like at this point, 1 in 4 people in England is an immigrant, so that's the public in his view, surely, who are in favour of more immigration.
Yep.
But and so the only 2 people we've got, Kemi Badenoch, of course, has been talking about this, and Suella Braverman, 2 brown women.
But they might not be part of the public.
They are also not a part of the public, that's correct. Suella Braverman has been really strong on this, which is great. It's nice that someone is. I mean, there's literally not a single other person who is prepared to come out and say, maybe we should cut the number of immigrants.
Well, any white MP would immediately lose their job.
Exactly, racist. Boom. Thanks, Conservative Party. Right, but Braverman, she's like, look, we have for the last 15 or so years been pledging to reduce the number of migrants into Britain to the tens of thousands, which implies 90,000, frankly, right? That's tens of thousands, which is still
99,000.
Yeah, exactly.
99,999, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's still
let's fudge those numbers, Carl.
it's still too much, right? And she's like, look, this, in the face of course, the Conservatives having done nothing of the sort and bringing in 1 million last year, which is twice what Tony Blair ever thought of bringing in.
Done nothing for 12 years as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The Home Secretary said she would aspire to cut overall migration figure from the current level of 239,000. That's not the overall migration figure. The government's own figure showed 1.16 million came in last year. Mm-hmm. At most, 400,000 leave. At most. They remigrate. So I don't know where the Independent is getting that figure from. Presumably 2011. She was forced to admit the Conservative plan to send people seeking asylum to Rwanda will not happen for a long time. Conservatives got an absolute majority in this country, and Parliament is sovereign. They could literally vote to uproot this entire country just wholesale and shove it further out into the Atlantic if they want, and somehow we'd have to make that happen. They could pass legislation to do anything. Pass legislation to have it so that this country is renamed Hogwarts if they want. They literally can do it. There's no cap on the power that the Conservatives have. And yet, here we are. It's like, we just can't get rid of these illegal immigrants. Sorry, don't know what to do about it.
It's a weird way to stand with J.K. Rowling, isn't it?
She at the Tory party conference recently said her ultimate aspiration is to get net migration down to the tens of thousands. I think we have to definitely substantially reduce the number of students, the number of work visas, and in particular, the number of dependents on those sort of visas. How could that possibly happen, Suella?
If only there was someone who made the laws.
Yeah, if only there were rules that were set by people who aren't Tony Blair.
Maybe she should write to her local MP.
David Cameron first pledged this in 2010. So literally it's been like 12 years. Of course, that was never done. And so this is nonsense. But the thing is, this really annoyed India. Our closest ally. An Indian woman in the British government said maybe we need to reduce the number of Indians who come to Britain. And the Indian government responded by saying, well, we're not going to let the Indians come back.
What?
Not even joking. So this journalist
Sure,
here...
you want your Indians to stay in India.
Oh, God, no.
You did spend all that money training them.
We've got 1.4 billion Indians. We don't...
Yeah, I know everyone.
What do they need,
I know everyone in India wants to leave.
Yeah.
But I mean, the government would want them to stay, presumably.
No, right. This apparently this journalist says, I was told this morning the Indian government is retaliating against Suella Braverman's comments last week by putting delay on visas to India. This has led to hundreds of British Indians having their plans thrown into disarray over visa delays. Braverman told the Spectator she had concerns about having open borders migration policy with India because there are literally 1.4 billion of them and 45 million English and Welsh. And the Indian visa overstayers were a huge problem. The Indian government was quite annoyed by the statement. So if you're a British Indian, your plans have been laid to waste over unexpected visa delays, you can blame the Home Secretary. What are you going to do? Call her a fucking racist?
But no, you don't blame the Home Secretary. Like, she said something that's perfectly reasonable, and the Indian government has decided to be retarded.
Well, the Indian Home Secretary has said something that the Indian government has got upset about, and therefore is imposing a punishment on Indians. Is there a single English person involved in any of this? Like, I'm just like saying...
His Majesty?
I'm just saying as an Englishman being like... Why are there a bunch of Indians arguing in my country? What is going on about this? And of course, Suella Braverman was like, look, we need to get out of the European Convention on Human Rights. If only she was part of a government that had a commanding majority that could do such a thing.
Again, she should write to her local MP.
This has, of course, put the trade deal with India in crisis, you see. If India isn't allowed to flood Britain with Indians, then they're not going to trade with us, and that's enough of that. If you go to the next one, a source in Delhi said...
Fair trade. I'm not annoyed by that.
A source in Delhi said they were shocked and disappointed by the disrespectful remarks. Couldn't call her a racist, because she's Indian. So what are they going to do? She's disrespecting India.
Don't you know all Indians want to, I don't know, move all over the world?
Indian government sources have said that the relationship has taken a step back following Braverman's comments. There's still a lot of goodwill, but if certain individuals are still embedded in government, it will paralyse the talks. It's like, oh God. Anyway, off to Rwanda. She, as she was famously quoted as saying, look, when it comes to the channel migrants, which we will get to in a second, she was saying, look, I really want to send them to Rwanda. It's my dream and obsession that we can see them on the front page of the Telegraph being deported.
So is this woman single? Or...
Yeah, I know, she's great. Don't get me wrong. She honestly, from what I've seen of her rhetoric so far, it's all great, but
Deliver.
Do something.
Yeah.
Make it happen. But the reason that none of this is happening is because 10 Downing Street, Liz Truss, has decided to sideline Braverman and actually go with Nadeem Zahawi's proposals for some reason. Because their poll numbers aren't low enough. I've seen consistent polls now. I've seen about 6 polls that show the Conservatives on somewhere between 20 and 25% approval.
From various outlets.
Yeah.
It's accurate when you speak to people as well.
Yeah. Everyone hates it. Don't know why they're doing it. So this was Liz Truss is keen to hand out more visas to achieve the growth she needs to save her premiership. That's right. Imagine that.
It doesn't cause growth.
But imagine
more people equals economy more good.
But literally, Liz Truss is sat there like, yeah, right, okay. We need another few dozen million Indians in this country. And so when every other person in this country is an Indian, Liz Truss is going to come up to you and say,
but isn't the GDP high?
Didn't this save my premiership? Aren't you pleased with what I've done to save the economy of this country?
The GDP per capita is now $2,000 per person.
Literally like in India.
The net GDP is $1 trillion. So what's the problem?
Exactly. That's exactly the way they look at it. Anyway, so that's just the legal immigration. Let's go over to the channel. How things are. Oh, right, 750 a day. You remember when that was 100 a day?
I don't remember. It was like 10 a day.
Yeah. And we were like, God, that's too many.
We should fix this before it gets worse.
Yeah. It's 750 a day now. Not good. As they point out, the Home Office cannot acquire properties quick enough. So what do we need to do? There's only one thing left for it, lads.
Send them all to Brighton.
We're going to have to contact David Osland and see what his view on it is. He posted this, just some rando on Twitter. The housing shortage isn't caused by immigration. It's caused by not building enough houses.
Where does David live?
Don't know.
Because we can send quite a few there.
Are we going to his house, are we?
No, I think we should. I think we should Martha's Vineyard these
In
people.
real life, no.
No, I'm thinking we should Martha's Vineyard
Yeah.
these people. I think DeSantis absolutely right. We need to start shipping them all either to central London, like the richest parts, or send them to Brighton, the most progressive part of the country.
He is, of course, a wealthy communist. So it just, I love this. It's like, it's not about the immigration. It's just, there just aren't enough houses. It's like, okay, but who needs the houses, David? Who needs the houses? Where do these people come from? What are their names?
Well, the entire rest of the world. That's who we serve,
Exactly.
not ourselves.
I hate what this country is doing with immigration, and there's no end to it. There is just no end to it. The floodgates are open, and everyone is just asking the wrong questions.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the premium book clubs we do, this one on Giovanni Gentili's The Origins of the Doctrine of Fascism. And you want to find out what else Carl's putting out, you can follow him on Getter at Carl Benjamin on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.